Boom. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Dividend Happy Hour. How's everyone doing? We started the stream, couple minutes early. I was just kicking around, got set up a bit early. I thought, why not? Why not just hop on a little bit early? I didn't want to say a little bit early again, but I couldn't get around it. I was trying to avoid it because I said it 3 times. But anyway, crazy week. What can I tell you guys? Pretty crazy week in the stock market. Let me know real quick. I'll show you what's going on in my portfolio in just a sec. But let me know because I'm going to guess pretty much all of us were down this week. If you weren't down, let us know in the chat. But let me know here in the chat, what was your worst performing stock this week? What brought you down the most? I mean, like Patrick here said, what goes up must come down. Every time I hear that, I think of I'm learning to fly. A little Tom Petty. What goes up must come down. So yeah, let me know. Sorry about that, guys. Let me know what was your worst performing stock this week here in the chat. In the meantime, I will jump over to the screen. Let's see here. Let me add this here. So I want to go over to Snowball Analytics, show you guys what my worst performers were. If we go over to the growth page right here and scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll show us the best and worst holdings by whatever time period. So looking over the past 7 days, looks like there were only a few stocks that were actually up this week. EPD was my best performer. It was up 4%. Chevron, Blue Owl, and Main Street. So definitely a clear theme here. We had the BDCs and the energy stocks up this week, whereas everything else was down. Procter & Gamble was a big loser, actually, down 8.1%. Zoetis was down a whole lot, 7%. Williams-Sonoma down a bunch. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, pretty poor week. And actually, I just posted about this over on I posted about it over on Twitter, which, by the way, or X. I use them interchangeably. I don't know about you guys, but on that note, I just started posting over on X again, or on Twitter. So if you guys are on there, shoot me a follow. I'd love to connect with you. It's just at Retire with Ryan. But I just posted about this over there. And let me see if I can zoom in. Can I organize it by, yes, weekly? This has been my worst week of performance so far in 2026. Once it loads, we'll see right here. Give it just a second. Might have to even, here, I probably will do that. How about that? There we go. Okay. So yeah, this was my worst week of performance. For the week, I was down 3.1%. So definitely like the worst, stretch here in 2026. Everything else has been good. This is actually only the third out of 10 weeks in 2026. This is only the third week where we've seen some red, and the other two, which was the first week of January and looks like the last week of January, those were hardly in the red. I mean, it almost doesn't even count. So this was the first real red week of 2026. Obviously, a lot of turbulence, a lot of chaos going on in the stock market. And, all that uncertainty, it causes share prices to go down sometimes. But in the meantime, as we like to say, it creates these good buying opportunities. But let me see what you guys, speaking of buying opportunities, let me see what buying opportunities you guys have in your portfolios. Tony, looks like how some ASML got whooped. Jerry says Royal Caribbean was down a bit. Let's see. El Dynamico. Antonio, what is going on, my friend? I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you in the live stream, so I'm happy to see you here in the chat. But let's see. I'm thinking maybe Aries Capital. Is that what you mean? ARCC? Yeah, Pat, Aries is down the worst as well. Andre here says Visa. There you go. OMAH, which that's the oh gosh, that's the Round Hill, that's that Round Hill Berkshire ETF, right? I mean, it counts. It's still one of your holdings. That was what I asked about. Yeah, it looks like David here said Rio was his worst performer. Anders here says his best was up 51%. None horrible. Well, that's good. Striper Kid says SMH was down, so decided to do a Roth conversion. Okay. Sorry, guys, sipping a little Joe. Chris says ASML was down 12%. Patrick says Hershey down 4.6% this week. Wow. Where is Hershey at now? So where does that leave the Hershey company? By the way, guys, if you're wondering, I never have this closet door open. I don't, for some reason, when I'm filming, I don't like leaving it open. I just think it looks weird. I'd rather have it shut. But Peanut was adamant about going in the closet literally right before I went live. So he's hanging out in there. He's actually just laying down. But let's go back over here. I want to see the Hershey company. Because prior to this, I mean, Hershey had seen a pretty nice run up. I'd noticed that. But yeah, I mean, even so far, year to date, it's still up an incredible amount. So still up 20, almost 24% despite its poor performance this week, excuse me. But where's the valuation at? I mean, if we look at the dividend yield based on the 5-year average, it's pretty much right in line with the 5-year average, still a little bit above. So I don't know, maybe not the best valuation. Free cash flow, kind of right in line with its 5-year average. So it's about average as far as the valuation. Lucas, what's up, Lucas? CNR is his worst performing stock, just got hammered. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of ASML for you guys. UPS was down 10% according to Tim as well. Wow. Yeah, Vasco here says Taiwan Semiconductor and Zoetis are the worst. Guys, I actually think I might be picking up some Zoetis next week. I actually didn't buy anything this week except for my weekly dollar cost averaging into, SHD and VOO. But I think next week I'll probably start buying some Zoetis again because I was looking at my position. I mean, the main reason I stopped, hit the pause button on buying it was because it just got to a point in the taxable account where it was getting to be too heavy. I felt like I needed to pause and buy some other things. But at this point, it's now only 6%, just under 6% of my overall portfolio. So I think that's reasonable. I think now after spending some time buying other things, I think that there's room to increase this position and bring this average cost per share down even more. Right now it's sitting at about 147 for me. And clearly there's room to improve that. So yeah, I think for the time being, I might switch gears from Visa and but Visa's still looking good. It's like 317. So who knows? Maybe I'll split the contributions, but I'm really looking at Zoetis again, as far as where to put the contributions. Yeah, and on that note too, this is a good question from No Race Car Life. I will save this one. We'll circle back to that. Interesting question. Let's see though. Yeah, Jose, great timing with Intuit, man. Yeah, great timing with that. That one definitely popped up. We'll see where it goes from here. And even Intuit, even after its surge, I think it's still probably at a pretty good price. But yeah, it's crazy to see its run up. I should have pulled the trigger on it, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I'm ultimately not sure if I want to add into it. I still feel like there's so much uncertainty in that whole space. And the more I think about it, and I know I talked about this in a recent video in my deeply discounted stocks video, but the more I think I would be inclined to buy something like Verisk, which has all the data, I just think that's going to be a bit more resilient to disruption, specifically AI disruption. So I'm still chewing on that. I'm not even sure that I want to add another position to the portfolio right now, but in the software space right now, I've got my sights set on something like Verisk. There's some other similar types of companies as well that have that data, decades worth of data. But that's kind of the direction I'm thinking when it comes to software. Lucas, goodbye. Well, speaking of the tech space, I mean, I think BMI is another one that I'm really still hyped on as well. But bought BMI, and by the way, I passed my IP exam, meaning I am now a licensed plumber. I had no doubts about it, man. Congratulations. That's got to feel good. And if I wish I would have known, I would have had a margarita. I've been looking for an excuse to have a margarita. But on that note, guys, why don't we quit dilly-dallying and kick this thing off the best way we know how? Grab whatever it is you're sipping on now, almost 11 minutes into the stream. Cheers. Here's to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into another Dividend Happy Hour, episode 164. Here's to Lucas for passing his what do you call it? IP exam, becoming a licensed plumber. Congratulations, Lucas. What an accomplishment. And also, last but not least, here's to the dividends. Here's to the pursuit of that sweet, sweet cash flow. Because really, at the end of the day, guys, that is what's bringing us together tonight. Our love for financial freedom and passive income. So cheers. Ooh, so good. So good. All right. I see my man Danny in the building. What's up, man? Good to see you. And guys, why don't we take a break from the live chat real quick? I've got a few questions for you. I've got the usual questions. Number one, and some of you guys, I mean, Danny, you answered this just now, which made me think about it. But number one, I want to know, what did you buy this week? Which stocks did you add to your portfolio? I already know what your worst performers are, but let me know what you bought, where you actually put your money. That's number one. Number two, I want to know, what are you sipping on? What did you bring to drink to the Dividend Happy Hour? I want to know that. Number three, I want to know, I know we're not going to have probably any all-time highs, but I want to know if anything else cool happened in your guys' portfolios this week. Any other milestones, any other accomplishments that happened in your portfolio? I want to share in those accomplishments, or we want to share in those accomplishments with you. So drop those in the chat. And also number four, I want to know if we have any first timers here in the live stream. In case this is your first time tuning into the Dividend Happy Hour, we do this live stream every Friday night starting about now, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it's always a good time. And as you'll find out if you haven't already, there's no plan, there's no agenda for these live streams. We're just hopping on here to shoot the breeze and see where it goes. And like I said, it's always a good time. This is always one of the highlights of my week. And I'm just so thankful that there's 142 of you guys, as I'm saying this, who are willing to put up with my gibberish enough to, now 152, to tune in and hang out with me for this hour. I feel really, feel very fortunate. So thank you. But anyway, enough about that. Let's keep going through the chat. Looks like Hunting Dividends picked up Meta and SCHD. There you go. Mr. Broadcom in the building. There he is. It looks like I'm about 8 minutes behind in the chat. So I'm going to scroll down a bit, kind of zoom through this and catch up. Congrats on the Visa pickup. Good move. Let's see. Yeah. There you go. Okay, Jose picked up some Figma. Yeah, that F guy. Good to see you, man. It has been a while. It's been a long time. So yeah, I'm happy to see you here in the live chat, and I hope you're doing well. Yes, EPD still going very strong. Love it. Ooh, Rudy says, innovative industrial properties, and I think Jack is Jack in the Box, right? Is that, it's got to be Jack in the Box. Yeah, it is. Okay. Have been bad for him, unfortunately. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Patrick's still up 33% on Hershey despite the pullback. You know, Target, to Tim's point here, Target, very nice rebound from Target. Oh, Antonio. That's funny. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's funny. Peanut is in the closet. Let's see. Yeah, Deer down 6%. I get you. Yes. Okay. Wondering if you can look at ZS. What is that one? Zscaler. Danny, if they're not a dividend pair, oh, Danny, you're making me do this. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Even though it doesn't pay a dividend, we'll look at it for you. I'll add that to the list here. We'll circle back. Yeah, Jose, this is a good question too about Clear Secure. I will circle back to that. Striper Kid, great question. Great question. Yes, Gav, I am down this week. I'm down about 3%. I did show a bit of the portfolio at the very start of the stream, so maybe scroll back to the beginning when you have a sec. I mean, you could do it later, or just follow me on Twitter because I posted about it there as well. But yeah, I'm down 3% for the week. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Keep going. Yeah. Shout out Lucas again. I see all of you guys in the chat there. Okay, so Chris, I've been waiting for this news. Sold out of 3 stocks: Netflix, Main Street, really interesting, and Webull. Put my money into Netflix, and Main Street into Amazon. Bull, I put that into SCHD. Okay, interesting moves. Pervitar, thank you so much for the kind words. Happy to catch you live. I'm from Denmark, so I mostly watch your vids. Well, I'm happy that you're able to catch tonight's live stream, and I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, so as far as the purchases, I see some Procter& and Gamble. I see a lot of Badger Meter, actually. I'm glad to see you guys picking up. Oh, so there's my finger. I was wondering what the heck was that. I'm glad to see you guys buying some Badger Meter. I really think it's a rock solid business. So, yeah, Anders with a crazy shopping spree. Look at that. 50K into SGov, 22K into VTI, 37,000 into Realty Income, 11K into Mid-America Apartments, and a few others. The cool thing, also sent the money to my bank to pay off my mortgage. That's huge. That is huge. So, I mean, probably a dumb question, but so you're officially mortgage free at this point. No more mortgage payments. If so, huge. Congratulations. And I'm jealous. Let me know too, if you can answer this. How does it feel when you sent that money into your bank, and maybe it hasn't hit yet because maybe you haven't heard back from your bank. I don't know. But how does it feel? What is that feeling like paying off the mortgage? I'm actually very curious to know what it feels like when it hits. Okay. Yeah, guys, I'm going to scroll down a bit here in the chat, get caught up. I see all of your guys' buys, and I apologize if I skip over some of your comments. I'm just quite a bit behind in the chat. Yeah, so KX1, I'm down about 3% for the week. Tough week. Worst week so far in 2026. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of you guys picking up some BMI. That's great. I see at least 3 or 4 BMI purchases. Ooh, Tony's got a good question. Hunting Dividends has a good question about UNH. This is a pretty easy one. You know, to be honest with you, I really don't have any crazy opinion about United Health. I think, number one, I don't really understand the health insurance industry that well. On the other side of that, obviously health insurance is something that everyone needs. So it is a very important business. But then attached to that, it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of their customers probably don't like them. So I think that's a tough thing to reconcile as well. Ultimately, I stay away from insurance because I really just don't understand it. And so I'm really not the best person to ask about it because of that, if I'm being honest. Oh, there you go. That F guy reasons for margaritas. I just passed my life license exam in Alberta. So is that like a life insurance exam, or what is that? I mean, congratulations. That's huge too. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, WDFC. I think that's a great company too. I really like that one as well. That one's been sitting on my watch list with BMI for a while. Yeah, okay. A lot of you guys picking up BMI. Yeah, Tony, have you eaten at With Love Always? It's my favorite burger spot. I have. I actually ate there maybe about a month ago, when my parents were in town. It's good. I actually live, Tony, I live right up the road from With Love Always. I'm maybe like 5 minutes away from there. But yeah, it's good. It's just I think it's really expensive. And I would, like, 9 times out of 10, I would much rather just go to Red Robin, which is like down the road from With Love Always. And there's also right down the road from there is a Shake Shack. They're opening up a Shake Shack down the road too, like right down Centennial. And they're also right where they're opening up, where they have the Red Robin, and where they're opening up the Shake Shack. There's also going to be an Able Baker brewery that they're opening up as well. They're doing the work on that right now. And I love their beers. They've got some great stouts. So I'm really excited for that. Jose's got another good question about portfolio being too safe. Yeah, you guys are really coming with the good questions tonight. Yeah, so Anders says, I will be when it is credited. It won't really hit until I no longer see the monthly bills next month. Obviously, a windfall that has been planned for the last 6 months. Well, congratulations, man. I think that's really cool. That's awesome. Mm-mm-mm. Yes, Dan, good to see you, man. This is the new live stream time. Just starting it an hour earlier. To be honest with you, it's easier. Yeah, it's just easier. It's easier to get done at 5 PM instead of 6 PM, especially with the baby. Once like 5 PM here hits, she just gets what's the word? She just inconsolable. She just gets difficult, and I think she just gets tired. So, usually right after this, it's we make dinner real quick, and then it's bath time, and then it's time to start winding down. So, yeah, it's been really helpful to be able to do the stream an hour earlier. So, yeah, you want to look at SPGI? We can definitely look at that one. It's been a while since we've done that. So, okay, looks like I'm caught up in the chat now, and I've got 7 questions saved. Yeah, get through the first 2 years and you're set. I'll tell you what, man, it's been 5 months. It's already been 5 months, and I feel like it's really flown by, but this has been, this age has been very, very fun. Just 4 months, 5 months. This last month has been a lot of fun because she's very smiley. She's just like always laughing, very interactive, and yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. The whole thing's been fun, but it seems to so far it's just gotten better with time. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go through these 7 questions. This first one, and I want to hear your guys's answer to this one as well. If you were excuse me, if you were starting today, which are your top 5 stocks that you're buying right now? Well, I want to think about this one for a minute. So to be honest with you, I have a pretty hard time answering this question because I think if I was starting over today as a brand new investor, I probably wouldn't buy 5 stocks, to be honest with you. I probably, if I could go back, just start completely with ETFs, which is the opposite of what I actually did when I first started investing. I went all in on individual companies, and it's worked fine. My portfolio's done pretty well. Um, but yeah, if I could go back and start over again, knowing what I know now, well, if I could go back again, I probably would start from scratch just with ETFs. I think for a brand new investor, that's probably the best way to go. Just start building some good discipline investing in ETFs regularly, establish that foundation, and then depending on how interested you become in this stuff, then maybe branch out from there. But I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, and I know this is kind of a non-answer and a lame answer. I don't know. I don't know that I have a top 5 stocks that I would buy right now. It'd be really tough to pick. So, but if you guys have if you guys have any picks, I want to see them. So Tim does, it looks like. Visa, Costco, IPAR, which is the international perfumes, Goldman Sachs, and ADP would be his 5 plus SCHD if an ETF was allowed. Yeah, I mean, kind of like Joey said, I know this is a lame answer. Starting over, pick 3 to 5 ETFs and call it a day. And with that said, like if I had to pick like my beginner portfolio, if we could pick ETFs, I probably would go, I would try and do something that's well balanced. I feel like I've got a pretty well balanced portfolio right now, and I like that. I like having balance. So I'd probably go with something like, either, well, probably VOO and SCHD. I think that's probably like a great combo. I'm really happy with that combo myself. An alternative would be maybe even something like SCHG and SCHD, and then possibly even something like VXUS. But I don't know that I feel much of a need to have that international exposure. But I probably would just stick with VOO and SCHD. You don't even need SCHD, to be honest with you. It depends on the person, but um, I think you get by with just VOO or VTI and call it a day. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so Danny now wants us to look at ZS, which was Zscaler. Okay. So, oops. Let me go over here. Okay. So first and foremost, I want to see, Danny, what this company is. They do not pay a dividend. What does this company do? So they're a cloud security company worldwide. Okay. So let's check out some of the financials. There's no snap score right here. If we scroll down, the free cash flow yield's looking really good, and the share prices come down. So it's probably a combination of a couple of things. Number one, the share price coming down is going to push the free cash flow yield up, but they're probably growing their free cash flow as well. And if we scroll down, yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. Very solid revenue growth. Earnings are still negative, but free cash flow positive. So I think that's looking really good, actually. Very high margins, gross margins. Because the earnings per share, because the net income is negative, that's why we're seeing these net profit margins. But the free cash flow margins are improving over time. So, I think that looks pretty incredible. Doesn't look like they have any net debt on the balance sheet, or negative net debt on the balance sheet. So they have more cash than they do total debt. In the trailing 12 months, that's changed. Sometimes this isn't the most accurate, the trailing 12-month reading. So, but looking at the most recent year, 2025, I think that looks fantastic. Obviously, no dividends. They're issuing a lot of shares, but maybe that's normal just for the stage that this company is in. It's a bit more normal to see these earlier, more growthy companies issuing shares versus buying back shares. And negative returns on invested capital, at least so far. So, there's some good. I think it's mostly good, strong revenue growth, strong free cash flow growth. Margins are improving, negative net debt. Yeah, I see a lot that's good. I don't know anything about the business, obviously. And this type of company is definitely not my forte, so I wouldn't really know what to do with it from here personally. But I don't know. There's some good looking fundamentals, I think, in there. So let's see. Let me get caught up in the chat here, see what I missed real quick. Okay. The Zscaler is like a VPN, Jedi says. Okay. Okay, so let's go back over here. This is a good question from Jose. Now that now that Clear Secure has done a run up, have you had a chance to say any "I told you so's"? No, man. Thank you for the congratulations. I can't take any credit for that. Obviously, I'm not responsible whatsoever for what the share price does, and I'm certainly like in no position to boast or gloat about it. I hope you never catch me doing that. If I ever do it, please stop me, because I never want to be that kind of person. Because the thing about that is, I think you almost jinx yourself if you celebrate well, that's what it is. It's like celebrating too soon. If you celebrate, your stock wins too soon, what's going to happen the next day is you're going to lose out on all those gains and look like an idiot. So it's not always easy for me, but I try not to do things that don't make me look like such an idiot. I'm not perfect, so sometimes it happens. But yeah, I will never say "I told you so" when it comes to Clear Secure. I'm happy to see it doing well. But I don't know, the thing about Clear Secure too is that the share price is so volatile. KRC is another one where it's the same way. Williams Sonoma sometimes is the same way as well. But Clear Secure's share price is so volatile that it wouldn't surprise me to see it, go back down into the 30s, into the low 30s, or possibly even below 30. It just sometimes it's a roller coaster like that. And if it does do that, I'll actually be buying more. Because I do think it's a great business, and since I've owned it, it's one that I've seen, I think, get better. And I think their TAM is expanding as well. I think that's been a big part of the investment thesis with Clear Secure. And I'm seeing that play out over time. So yeah, I'm very happy with the investment so far. But deeper than that, I'm just very happy with the business. And with the nice share price returns, they increased the dividend 20%. Which is great. And they're also issuing a special dividend that's going to be paid out this month too. So, from a dividend investing standpoint, it's checking those boxes too. And there's still no debt. So yeah, I'm very happy. It's been a great business, and I hope it continues to be. Exactly. I mean, like Fast Eddie here says too, I don't know if this was in response to what I was talking about or the unrealized gains taxes in Norway. or is it Norway or the Netherlands? That they're doing that. Anyway, wherever it is, um, yeah, I mean, this is what I think about when it comes to the share price. It's not a win until you lock it in. So, um, and you know me, I'm just planning on holding this one for a long time. So, but and there's people actually too, and I'm very happy to see this. There's people here in the community. Some of you guys, maybe even in the chat, tuning in right now, who are seeing like double the returns that I am on Clear Secure, because I bought it a little bit too soon. I bought it when it was in the mid 30s, and then I bought down as it came down. But some of you guys started your positions in the mid or low 20s, so you're sitting pretty right now. Some of you guys are, like I know Nathan. I don't think Nathan's watching right now, but I think Nathan's up over 100% on Clear Secure. If not, he's close to being up over 100%. So that makes me happy to see. Much happier than if the share price were to go the other way. You know what I mean? So, Striper Kid, this is an interesting question. I'm going to save this one because it might be, an interesting thing to make a future video about, a future Q&A. This is kind of a loaded question too. So, I'll try and keep it brief and concise in general. But do you guys have any thoughts on this? I want to hear your guys' responses to this too, because I think this is an interesting thing to reflect on. So where does everyone see themselves 5 years from now? Let me know what you guys think about in the chat. Where do you see yourselves? Could be in your portfolio, could be in life, a combination of the two. Personally speaking, a few things that come to mind. I really see myself doing hopefully the same things that I'm doing today, just on a hopefully bigger scale, bigger audience, but I don't know, same old stuff, I guess. Bigger portfolio for sure, but I think those are the two things. I think I'll be older at that point. I'll be 37 years old. I'll be really interested to see what the portfolio looks like. I think at that point we could definitely be at like 250 or $300,000 in the portfolio, so that'll be really cool. Yeah, I'd love to still be, obviously I'd still pray that I'll be able to do this stuff. I don't know why I wouldn't. The only reason I wouldn't be able to do this stuff is if you guys stop watching me. So I hope that never changes. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to keep doing the same things that I'm doing today because I love everything that I get to do. Yeah, Dave says 5 years, hopefully almost retired. I feel that. Yeah, what else do you guys say? So Fast Eddie says, me and my wife retired traveling the world. That's great. Yeah, Tim says in 5 years, 2 years from retiring to Panama and Prague. There you go. Patrick says in 5 years, I'll be planning my 5-year plan for retirement. There you go. Sith Tuber will probably be in the same boat. Yeah, Lord willing, for sure. Portfolios should hopefully be touching $300,000 to $400,000 and throwing off 7 to 8K in annual dividends. That'd be nice. Nice bit of Tucka. Retired from the Air Force, starting another federal career so I can continue to add to the TSP. I'd like to be close to 500K overall in the portfolio. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see myself in all Roth and traveling a lot. Nice. Okay. Vasco says, I see myself in a new job, enjoying my house that I start building this year with something like $2,000 in annual dividends. Good job. M&S Gaming, finishing up grad school. Love it. Rambler, driving trucks for Coca-Cola. That'd be a good gig. There you go. Sith Tuber, thank you for the kind words. I love this channel. First time I made it to the stream on time. Normally I rewatch it on Saturday. Keep up the great work. I will keep following you on Blossom. Well, thank you, my friend. I sincerely appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I think the 5 years, guys, it's fun to think about, and it feels so far in the future, but it's really not. You blink and it's gonna go. So yeah, I don't know. El Patron says, I see myself getting margin called for going all in on Spencer's 18x Tesla ETF. There you go. Mr. Silky Smooth, you mean? Got a few more questions to go through, but I see a few more of you guys' 5-year projections coming in. So, um, yeah, Joey says in 5 years, I better be at $500,000, hopefully still working my jobs. Billy says, oh, this is a question. Would it be a wise decision to borrow? We'll circle back to this one. That's kind of interesting, actually. Sir Dude Bro Man says, in 5 years, I hope that I'll still be investing and in better shape health wise and teaching my niece about building passive income for her future. I also see myself completely in the Roth. Um, well, Sir Dude Bro Man, I think you're off to a great start. I know some of the stuff you've been doing to, excuse me, teach your niece about building passive income, and you're really helping her out with that. So you're absolutely going to be farther along with that and better off with that down the road than you are today. That's just how these things go. And it's all because of consistency, consistency plus time will drive those results. And it's actually the same thing as far as, health wise, it's the same principle as well. We don't have to get into that because you guys have heard that enough from me, but yeah, good stuff, man. Fast Eddie. I don't think so, man. Who knows, never say never, but, yeah, I don't know. When my wife and I talk about it, at least right now, we're pretty content with just one, but we'll see. Never say never. Just kind of gonna see where the wind blows there. Um, okay. There you go. Okay, Cosmofire Studios just tuned into the stream for the first time. I'm usually catching it later. Well, welcome to the stream. Doing a 5-year plan for my dental office as we speak. Good stuff. Okay. Mike's going to be taking 401k distributions in 5 years. Nice. My man Mark is in the building. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. There you go, Jose. I like this, man. In 5 years, I'll be able to pay for a home entirely in cash. Love it. Ooh, good question about student loans or dividend portfolio. Mm-mm-mm. Yes, Peanut is very much a kid. You're right, Jose. A kid in the closet. I don't even know if he's still in there. He might be. Yeah, Tim, I've been noticing this too. With today's platforms, investing is something young people seem to be getting into. I wish Robinhood or Wealth Simple were around 30 years ago. Yeah, I mean, oh, there's Coach. What's up, Coach? Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's so great. I feel like I've been, and I know I've been talking about this for a while. You guys have heard me say this, but I feel like a lot of younger people are starting to get actually interested in investing. It's actually becoming kind of like a cool thing to do. Um, and you can say what you want about Robinhood, which we can talk a little bit about that actually. But I think they're responsible for a lot of that, for making it cool. It's cool to have like a Robinhood portfolio. But the interesting thing about Robinhood, and I've seen a couple different sides, a couple different arguments in defense of and attacking Robinhood. The interesting thing about Robinhood is they certainly don't shy away from the more speculative nature and the speculative side of the markets, and that's certainly been amplified now with the advent of prediction markets and them allowing that on their platform. So on one hand, I don't think it's the most positive, doesn't send the most positive signal. If you could, in the same app, contribute to your Roth IRA while then, making a bet on whether or not it's going to rain tomorrow or whatever the crazy bet is. I don't know that that's the most positive thing, but or the most positive association, I suppose, because it does, when you associate the two, it does make people think the stock market is kind of akin to a casino, which it should not be. And so I do think that's a problem. But on the other side of that, they're responsible for getting so many people interested in this that I can't help but think it, in the grand scheme of things, it is an overall net positive. And I think everyone finds their way to a I guess, responsible way of investing in their own time. Like everyone's on their own journey. And I think sometimes for these people who maybe get into investing and get into the stock market and do so in a way that's maybe not the most productive, unfortunately, I think it's going to take them getting a licking to then be aware of what their actual risk tolerance is, which I think is a big part of the problem. I think a lot of people overestimate, especially a lot of young people who are first getting into investing. I think they dramatically overestimate what their risk tolerance actually is. And it takes putting your hand on the stove once or twice to really, come around to the idea of long-term investing. The hope is that people find it right out of the gate, but it rarely does work that way, especially with young people who want immediate gratification, and you can't blame them for that. But still, I think at the end of the day, it's a net positive. Um, and I'm glad to see a lot of people taking an interest in their finances, at least taking an interest in it and talking about it, because it used to be so taboo, and that's certainly changing. Sorry for the tangent. um, yeah, let me see what you guys say. Still got a few questions to go through. We got about 20 minutes left in the stream, so we're making some good time, covering some good ground. FR. Vasco, that's a good question. Okay, so let's go through a few more of these. A lot of questions, and I'm going to apologize because some of these I think have been getting pretty in depth. That's kind of my own rambling, so it's my fault. But I'm going to apologize in advance if we don't get to look at some of these, or if we don't get to some of these questions. Okay, so Tony, this is a good one. Where is the best place to hear about companies raising their dividends? I think there's a few good places. One, I mean, Seeking Alpha for me is where I find out about most of those things, because and I'll show you. And by the way, there's a link to try out Seeking Alpha with a 7-day free trial in the description. I love Seeking Alpha. I mean, this has been probably one of the only constants as far as platforms go in my investing journey. Since I started, I've always been rocking with these guys. But yeah, Seeking Alpha is how I find out about a lot of dividend increases. So let me see if I can find it. I mean, maybe news. No, there's typically a way on a different page where you can filter out news based on dividends. But in this news feed right here, so these are obviously all of the companies in my portfolio. In the news feed here, it'll show the dividends that are declared. So like Vici Properties right here declared a dividend. And if we open this up, it is in line with the previous, but let's say that they raise their dividend. Like, for example, we can go to Clear Secure, because they just recently announced a dividend increase. So you'll get these notifications in your feed. So Clear Secure raises dividends by 20%. So this is one way that I find out about dividend increases. Another way is actually on Twitter or on X. There's a great page. The handle is @DividendHike. All they do is post about dividend increases. So I think that's another great resource. But personally speaking, where I find out about these raises is primarily through Seeking Alpha. And also, Dividendology puts out pretty regular videos, at least 1 or 2 a month, on like the dividend increases or the dividend raises that you need to know about. And that's a pretty good video series too. I wish I would have thought about that one myself. So I think he's always a great resource to turn to as well. You know what? Nah, it's okay. Okay, so this question from Jose. Ryan, do you ever feel like your portfolio is too safe for your age? I don't think so. It's an interesting question. I don't know that. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer this. So the general way that people approach this whole idea of risk and safety is usually it's just looked at through the context, through the basically, I'm tripping over my words. Usually when people talk about the subject, the only variable that's taken into consideration is your age. And the general consensus or the general rule of thumb is that the younger you are, the more risk you should be willing to take on. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. It's because when you're young, and if you were to lose money, you can afford to take those risks because you have more time to make up for that. I understand that side of it. There's also, the whole idea of more risk, more reward. And as young investors, you should be chasing growth. So I think that is tied into it too. But I think that beyond just your age, the another variable, or probably an even more important variable to consider, is really just your temperament. And kind of like I was saying earlier, I think a lot of investors overestimate their risk tolerance, and I think that's an important thing to know about yourself. Is how much can you tolerate, and that's not really an age thing. That's more of a temperament thing. And so I think for me personally, I think I've struck a good balance, and I talked about this in the recent video I put out, going through my entire portfolio. I think I've done a pretty good job, or I'm doing a good job of building out this all-weather portfolio that really gives me a bit of everything. I have companies that are more on the growthy side. I've got some of the more stalwart, dependable dividend payers. I've got some that are in the middle. I've got some high yielders, so I feel like I've got a mix of everything, and so far, at least, um, since I've been investing, the returns have been great. Um, Last I looked, I don't know where it's at this week. It's probably still this week, but last week I was looking at my Charles Schwab returns, and on an annualized basis, since I started putting out videos here on the channel, October 15th, 2020 was my first day. I think my annualized returns were like 16.75%, which at that point in time, it was outperforming the S&P by like almost 1% per year on average. And so I'm not really that concerned about, I don't know, I guess to answer this question, no, I don't really feel like my portfolio is too safe for my age, because I'm very happy with my portfolio. I'm happy with my holdings. I'm happy with how it's diversified. I'm happy with the balance that I have. I think the returns have been great. I think the dividend income is great. I think the dividend growth has been great as well. So it's really doing everything I wanted to, and I couldn't really be happier with my portfolio. Um, but yeah, it's a really good question, and hopefully that was a sufficient answer for you. Oh, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. Kind of a weird one, but I was reading that paragraph in the book and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just thought it'd be a good thing to write about. It felt good to write about it. Okay. Let's move on to this next one. So Mike here wants us to look at SPGI, which is S&P Global, and we will definitely look at that. So let's go over to the screen. Check it out on Snapstock. SPGI is a great company. I'm actually going to refresh this real quick. One sec, guys. Reload it. Oh, no snap score. That's interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, here's S&P Global. In the past year, it's down about 7%. Year to date, it's down closer to 12%, so not having a great year. The free cash flow is interesting. It looks like over time, it's gone down. The valuation's just generally it's gotten more expensive, I should say, but perhaps rightfully so. If we look at the fundamentals, it's been a really solid grower. Sales growth has been good. Earnings per share growth has been nice. Data is not loading for 2025, but the free cash flow growth has been great as well. Looks like margins are pretty steady. Debt's kind of jumped up there, about $11-12 billion in net debt, but it's totally serviceable, totally manageable based on the free cash flow and the operating income. I mean, the interest coverage is 31, so it's like debt's not even an issue for them. For the most part, it's been a pretty good dividend grower. Looks like the starting yield's pretty low. 0.85% yield based on the trailing 12 months month payments. The 10-year growth rate looks pretty good, 11.5%, but the dividend growth over the past 5 years has slowed down to less than 6%. And we can really see it kind of taper off here on these two charts right here. We can see the dividend growth going down over time. So that's kind of interesting, and the dividend is pretty well covered. Looks like they increased shares quite a bit going into 2022. So I don't know. I think there's some good things about this company. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a solid grower, but from a dividend standpoint, I will say it's not that interesting to me. I would probably rather buy Visa personally. Um, they're both in the financial sector. I think S&P Global, they should be in the financial sector. Yeah. And I know it's a different type of company than Visa, but in this sector, I would sooner buy Visa for sure. But it's okay. Let me see what you guys say in the chat. Mm-mm-mm. Williams Sonoma maxing. That's so funny. Yeah, and that's another one I definitely got lucky with. Really got lucky with Williams Sonoma. I'm hoping I see similar returns with Clear Secure. I think it's only a matter of time. I really do. But we'll see what happens with that one. I probably just jinxed it. And I think over time I'll see really good returns with Zoetis too. But yeah, it's funny. So I heard a term. Your comment here made me think of this. I heard someone say in one of my comments where I read it, someone referred to dividend maxing, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. This is going to be a new slang in the dividend investing world. This is going to be this is the phrase people are going to attribute instead of yield chasing. It's dividend maxing, and this is going to push people. And it doesn't sound as bad if you're dividend maxing, right? And so yeah, I think that's going to push people more. Just that phrase right there is going to push people more into higher yielding stuff. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so this is a very interesting question, guys. Billy wants to know, would it be a wise decision to borrow money from Robinhood to pay down my mortgage? Uh, I honestly don't know that I have a good answer about this. What do you guys think about that though? Take out a loan, unless what you mean is like you're going to sell out of assets in your portfolio and use that to pay down your mortgage. But I think what you mean is you're actually going to loan against your portfolio to pay down your mortgage. Yeah, if that's the case, probably not. It sounds it kind of makes things too complicated for me. So, um, but I don't know. I think maybe the reasoning behind it, if I had to guess, is maybe you get a lower interest rate at Robinhood than your mortgage rate, in which case you would be taking on cheaper debt to pay down more expensive debt, which I don't know. I guess so. With that said, though, what you'd have to do for it to be worthwhile, and you mortgage guys in the chat, I think Dan, don't you work? No, Dan, you're a CPA, I think. But I think for it to be worthwhile, you would have to borrow from Robinhood at the lower interest rate, pay down your mortgage, and then you'd have to refinance your mortgage, excuse me, to then get a lower monthly payment. I think that's the only way it would make sense. And if you're not going to do that, then you're just going to be adding to your monthly expenses. There you go, Adam. Adam's here. Now, if you were to sell out of assets, if you were to sell out of some of your stocks to pay down your mortgage, I think that's possibly a different story. But that one is, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that one. Dan, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so obvious. Like it's just why would you? It's just such an obvious thing not to get into. It's clearly trouble. Clearly it's trouble. And I will say, like, I'm not, excuse me, guys, I'm not a covered call ETF guy. I don't have any in my portfolio. I had Jeppy at one point. I would be probably open to having some more in the future, but for where I'm at right now, it's just not something I feel like I need to own. With that said, though, I want to keep an open mind about covered call funds. I do think there are some tame ones out there. I think there are probably some fine ones out there. I think Jeppy and JepQ have been, more stable, more tame ones out of the bunch. I think even so far, SPYI and QQQI seem to be decent funds so far, and it seems like the strategy is pretty straightforward. So I don't personally have many issues. I don't really have any issues with those types of funds that are just very straightforward strategies. But I think once you dip into more complex derivative strategies, I don't know. I think it's asking for trouble, and especially because a lot of the people who get into them are newer investors or investors who probably don't fully understand the strategies that are being deployed. So I'm just it's trouble. It's like so obviously trouble. And that's with that said too, that's not even to say that you can't make money with them. People have made money with them, but I think where people go wrong is they treat those funds like buy and hold investments, like you're going to buy Coney forever or MSTY and hold it forever, and it just turns out to not be a good idea. Okay, so going back to the mortgage stuff though, yes. So taking on more debt is not a great idea no matter what. If low rate mortgage, just leave it alone. If high rate, may be worth looking at. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think for it to be worthwhile, you'd have to refinance your current mortgage. I don't know. It could be, I don't know. Could be worth looking into, but it seems like a whole to do. In the grand scheme of things too, it may not save you a whole lot on your monthly expenses, if any. And I think it also depends too, like when would you have to what's the term on the loan from Robinhood? I think that's probably a big consideration too, because I would imagine it's not 30 years like it would be with your mortgage. So you could end up actually paying even more money. Oh, Hefe's in the building. We've got Teeps here. Okay, guys, we've got a couple more questions and a few minutes left in the stream. So let's go with this next one from Cosma Fire. Would it kind of a similar one actually? Well, no, not really. I guess. Somewhat. Would it be better to cut down my student loans at 290K or start building my dividend portfolio? You know, I think you could do both at the same time. I think it also kind of depends like what's the rate on those loans? What's the timeline on those loans? I don't know. I think that context would be helpful, but I think it would also take a long time to pay that down. Um, and the thing about compounding is, the more time that you have to compound, the better off you're going to be. So start ASAP. And so I think you have to weigh those two ideas against each other. And I think if you can aggressively pay down that debt while starting to build an investment portfolio, even if it's just like a little bit at a time. I think that would probably be a good balance. But based on the size of those student loans, personally speaking, I wouldn't want that much debt hanging over me. I and so I personally would probably lean more towards lean towards being more aggressive in paying off those loans. But like I said, there's probably a way where you can do both at the same time. Okay. Yeah, I've seen similar rules of thumb to what Jeff here is saying. So my rule of thumb is 4% interest rate or less equals extra dollars going to investing. 8% or more equals extra dollars going to loan. 4 to 8% is a mix of whatever you want. Yeah, I've seen that rule of thumb too. I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. Um, and as far as the student loans go, I would imagine they're on the lower end, right? So I think there's probably room to do both. Yeah, so at a 6.25% mortgage rate, you could probably refinance at a lower rate. I don't know that you'd be able to get it a whole percent lower. Um, you might be able to get it and it depends where you live too, I think, but you might be able to get in the upper fives, maybe even the mid fives if you're lucky. But to me, it doesn't seem worth it. if you're going to pay something down, like what I would do honestly, Billy, is if you really want to pay down your mortgage, pay down the principal on that, I would just take that 1K and put it just right into paying down your mortgage. That's probably what I would do. And then at a certain point, maybe do that for a couple years or a few years if you can sustain that. Um, Maybe not even that long, but look at interest rates. But I think if you do that, I think there could be a good opportunity for you to then refinance your loan or refinance your mortgage if you want to do that. Um, and bring down your monthly payment. But yeah, that's probably how I do it. I don't really see much of a benefit to borrowing from Robinhood. Um, I see a question about Blue Owl. We'll check that out. See if we can check that out. We'll see. 'Cause we still got a couple questions left, and the stream's about over. We might not get to that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of Blue Owl buying back shares. I think that was the question. I'll just put it up on the screen. No one asked it, but any thoughts on Blue Owl buying back shares? Yeah, I remember them announcing that they were going to initiate some sort of buyback program or expand their buyback program if they had a current one in their recent earnings. I think now is a pretty opportune time for them to be buying back shares. Um, but we'll see what they do. We'll see what they actually end up doing. Okay. Okay, we answered that one about student loans. Yeah, so Vasco, this is the last question here. Oh, there goes Peanut, finally coming out of the closet. What are the indicators to use when studying companies with high dividend growth that could slow down in a short period of time? So I think Vasco, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. What you're asking is what are some signals that you can look at that may indicate a company is about to slow down their dividend growth, right? I think that's what the question is. And let me screenshot this because this could be a good question to revisit. So I think the biggest thing, and we can even pull it up on the charts because maybe it'll be easier to create a visualization. But let's see if we can. Let me think of a company here. I'm trying to think of one that I've referred to as like a dividend rocket in the past. I don't know. Let's just look at Visa. Okay, Visa is just a fine example for everything. It's the gold standard of stocks, as I like to call it. So we look at Visa's fundamental charts right here, the sales growth, the earnings growth, the free cash flow growth. Everything is growing at a pretty nice and also a similar rate. Everything's growing pretty much in line with each other, low to mid double digits. We see the dividend growth is pretty much in a similar spot, right? It's growing, about 15, 16% on average over the past 5 years, a little bit more over the past 10, but it's all been very consistent over the past decade, ups and downs, but it's comfortably been within this range. Same thing with the payout ratios. They've really not ticked up much, if at all, over the past decade. Now, you ask, what would you look at to gauge whether or not a company can continue that rate of growth or if it might be slowing down? Well, if the dividend is paid out of the free cash flow and the profits, then that's really what you'd want to look at. A company's not going to be able to pay or grow its dividend if it's not generating more profits or more free cash flow over time. And subsequently, not subsequently, but also like more sales. It all kind of ties in together. But I would say the most important thing, because the dividend is paid out of the free cash flow, what you really want to look at is the rate of the free cash flow growth. And it kind of depends on the dividend policy as well, because companies will have different dividend policies, at least here in the States. Obviously, when they initiate a dividend, their plan is to grow it. But some companies, try and target certain metrics. Like, I think like Altria will target, they want to pay out 80% of their net income, or I don't know. That's not exactly right, but that's, different companies will have those different goals. Our goal with the dividend is to pay out X percent of our earnings or X percent of our free cash flow. And so really what you'd want to look at is those metrics to see how they are trending over time. If the free cash flow growth or the earnings growth is slowing down, well, chances are that at some point, the dividend growth is going to slow down as well. Now, companies can bide their time and prevent that from happening by increasing the payout ratio, but that's something that you want to look and see as well. Is the company increasing their payout ratio? Now, like Zoetis actually is kind of a good example of that. So, historically, it's been a really solid grower from top to bottom. This looked like over the past 2 years, really, the free cash flow growth has been a bit stagnant. Same thing with the sales. Yeah, the sales earnings still looking to be in good shape. But the dividend growth has still been very consistent. They've still maintained, that 15, 16% dividend growth rate. I think the most recent announcement was like a 6 or 7% increase, so it has since slowed down. But in their case, in maintaining that same dividend growth rate over the past few years, or actually even a faster growth rate, if we go back to 2018, 2019, and the few years that followed that, what's happened since then is the payout ratio has increased. Okay, it's gone from 17% at its lowest to double that in the trailing 12 months. Same trajectory here with the free cash flow payout ratio. So you want to look at all of those things. Now, in the case of Zoetis, it's not really that concerning because there's still plenty of buffer here, right? A 34% payout ratio, a 40% payout ratio. The dividend's not at risk of being cut anytime soon. But you want to look at all of these things in conjunction. How are the fundamentals growing? How are the payout ratios? And you kind of cross-reference all of these things against each other to gauge whether the dividend growth might be slowing down. And I also think it's natural to assume too that for every business at some point the growth is just going to slow. Like that's just the nature of the beast. As these businesses continue growing and get larger and larger, it's going to be harder for them to grow at the same percentage rates. That's just the law of large numbers. And businesses mature and they change and they go through different life cycles over time. So it's natural to expect these things to happen. But and I guess that's part of the question I would ask too: is which part of the life cycle is the business in? Is it a young growth company? Is it kind of like a more mature growth company? Is it like a mature kind of stalling out company, or is it a very mature company that's kind of starting to decline? Those are, generally speaking, those are kind of the life cycles. So you have to pay attention to that as well and see which category it fits in. So hopefully that was a good answer. Yeah, so I think this goes back to Blue Owl. There's this kind of general concern in the whole private credit space with Blue Owl Capital Corporation, OBDC specifically. I haven't heard anything about, their companies being at risk of defaulting. I haven't even heard that, I don't think, with OBDC2, which is like a private fund that you can't invest in. And I don't think I've heard that with Owl, which is the asset manager too. I think those few things tend to get confused, but they are slightly different. The only thing that I'm really concerned about with Blue Owl Capital Corporation is some of their customers, clients, whatever, some of the companies under their umbrella that they've loaned money to, they've seen what's called the payment in kind. It's the PIK or the PIK. They've seen the payment in kind kind of trickle up. And what the payment in kind is, you'll have to bear with me as I try and explain this. So, well, actually, we can use the mortgage example from earlier. Let's say that you're not able to pay your mortgage. So typically every month you make your mortgage payment. It pays down some of the principal. It pays, there's interest payment with that as well. But that's your mortgage payment. But let's say you find yourself in a situation where maybe you're not able to make those payments. Well, I don't know that you could do this with your mortgage, but hypothetically, for the sake of this example, let's say that you could. Instead of making your mortgage payment, what the lender could do is they could just tack the amount of that payment onto your total amount owed in the debt. So it basically adjusts the size of the loan to account for that missed payment. So let's say you owed, very simple numbers, $100,000 on your mortgage. You weren't able to make your $1,000 monthly payment. So then your new loan balance then becomes $101,000. And so that's what payment in kind is. So Blue Owl Capital Corporation has seen the payment in kind across their portfolio tick up a bit. That is something I'm keeping an eye on. I don't think and hopefully all of that makes sense. It's not something I'm super concerned about right now. I do expect them to cut their dividend, maybe 10 to 20%. But on the other side of that, as I've talked about before, I was blessed. We shareholders were blessed with ample special dividends for the past few years. So really can't complain too much. And I also think that just comes with the territory of investing in these BDCs and with interest rates going down. So yeah, hopefully all of that makes sense. Okay. And I'm all caught up in the chat, guys. I think this is a pretty good place to wrap it up. We're about 10 minutes past. Okay, I thought it was frozen for a sec. We're about 10 minutes past the hour. Before I let you guys go, I do want to ask, I know it's Friday. We've got a weekend ahead of us. What do you have your sights set on for next week? What are you looking at buying? What's looking good? What's on the buy list for next week? Do you guys have any ideas? Drop them in the chat. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Personally, I mentioned this earlier, but personally, I'm looking at probably some Zoetis for next week. Maybe Visa, but I think Zoetis is kind of in my top spot right now. BF says airlines. Mike says Duke and Consolidated Edison. BF also says oil companies. Yeah, I see some Hess. I see defense companies. Korean Cardboard says nothing. Got to wait. Got to get that cheddar. Got to get that cheese. Anders is back to normal investments. There you go. Bringer is going some T-Row. I see some RCAT, SQQ, and TLT. Yeah, Joey says need to buy a new mattress. There you go. SCHD, Amcor, Walmart. There you go, Chris. Of course. What else? Matt Money in the building. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Mr. Rocket Lab himself. The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah, I see Microsoft, Striper Kid, New Kitchen Table. Good Guts, OMC, RSG, nice. Republic Services, there you go. Cincinnati Financial and General, GIS is General Mills, right? I think so. Yeah, General Mills. Janus, SCHD, and Vici, nice. Yeah, Vici's looking good now too. Looking pretty good. Yep. Cool. Yeah, midstream companies, DGRO. Well, good stuff, guys. Okay. Yes, all sound like some good buys. Any last notes for you? Let me think. I should have a portfolio video going out. I don't know if it'll go out tomorrow. If not tomorrow, it should go out Sunday. I'm just waiting to get it back from the editor, who's been great. Got to shout out Devin, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. It's been a huge help having an editor, let me tell you what. So yeah, I have my monthly portfolio update video going out on either tomorrow or Sunday. Yeah, and I think that's it. Yeah, deep end chat going on Sunday as well, so that'll go out this weekend too. Mr. Broadcom, there's the roll call. There you go. MU, is that is MU Micron? Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, well, with that said, guys, thank you all so much for hanging out with me this past hour and 15 minutes. Always a fun stream. Went by way too quickly. It always does. You guys asked some fantastic questions tonight, so thank you for being so active in the chat. And also, I forgot to mention this, guys. Hit the thumbs up button on this stream one time. Let me go see exactly where we're at, okay? Let me see how many likes we got on this stream, guys, because if we don't have at least 147 likes, you guys are in trouble. You guys will be punished dearly. Guys, 68 likes on the stream, 70 Okay, 71, we're getting there, but now there's 152 of us here in the stream. 78. There you go, you guys. Some of you guys were holding out on me. Oh, Caesars. 88? Guys, we can get to 100. Come on, let's end the stream at least 100. There we go. There we go. 158 of us now. Let's get it rolling. Let's get it rolling. We've been busy. I know you guys have been busy. I feel that. I feel that. 91. Guys, 9 more. 9 more. We got it. We can't end at 93 likes. What are we doing here? Come on. Wow. Wow. 96 likes. Unreal. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Have you guys seen that guy on TikTok who does the Nicolas Cage impressions? It's always Nick Cage like with Spider Noir. Have you guys seen that? 99. Okay, 102. We can sleep good tonight now. Thank you. Okay, we'll officially end this. Better than 76. There you go. Good job, guys. That was a quick jump. Okay. We will officially call it a night. Thank you guys all so much for everything. Really fun hanging out with you this past hour. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Don't forget, time change is going down this weekend. We lose an hour, which is never fun, but we get more sunlight, so that'll be good. Yeah, you guys all have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble, and I will see you in the next one.